Hello, I'm Bill Bullard with ICAF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, politics is a struggle for power, and this creates conflict and can be viewed as a competition. Now, war, on the other hand, is an armed conflict in which power is also sought, so it too can be viewed as a competition. So the art of war can be applied to politics. After all, the goals for each are the same, and that is to deploy your resources to win. And there's been a decades-old struggle for power between two factions in the U.S. cattle industry. In one faction are the margin operators, global elitists whose principal objective is to source low-cost inputs from anywhere in the world and sell finished products worldwide, wherever margins are maximized. In the other faction are the domestic suppliers of inputs to the global margin operators. And in our U.S. cattle industry, the inputs are cattle and the suppliers are cattle producers. Now, their principal objective is to maintain profitable cattle farming and ranching operations. And herein lies the inherent conflict between the global margin operators and the domestic input suppliers. The former wants to buy cattle from anywhere low, and the latter wants to sell USA origin cattle high. And the globalists have been winning. Over the past several decades, they've instituted preferential public policies in Washington, D.C., and adopted buying practices that gave them a distinct market advantage over cattle suppliers. They grew powerful enough to hold public policymakers at bay. In fact, they were so powerful, they changed the meaning of our industry's holy grail. Competition itself was once revered in our capitalistic society and in our industry, but that was changed. For several decades, efficiency has decisively trumped competition, and that's where the battle line is drawn today, between those who revere competition and those who revere efficiency. Again, the global elitists were winning hands down. But then something unexpected happened. Shocks were sent through our industry in the form of a temporary plant closure, a pandemic, and then a cyber attack. And the effect was to open up an entirely new front in the battle to retake competition. And that means we must now change our strategy and adopt new tactics. Up until these shocks, many wanted to take whatever they could get, and offering a voluntary country of origin labeling looked tactically appealing to them before the shocks, and acquiescing to a watered-down market reform bill appears to them even today as the only available tactic. But now that mindset must change. Congress, which is a slow and deliberative body, took no interest in our battle until after the shocks. But in less than a year, Congress has now held no less than 5 hearings on the matter. That tells us they're keenly interested in our battle. After all, they keep returning to the table. Now, the U.S. Department of Justice took little interest in our plight until after the shocks. Now it and many state attorneys general are engaged in an ongoing and protracted investigation. And private enforcement actions were intermittent at best. But now there's multiple private antitrust lawsuits filed against our adversaries. We must capitalize on this newly opened front of interest, awareness, and focus. And we must marshal new resources to exploit it. And that too is happening right now. In just the last few months, 5 new academic studies and reports have emerged in full support of reestablishing the preeminent role of competition in our U.S. cattle markets. These new studies and reports will help inform Washington decision makers about the full breadth and scope of the beef packing cartel's buying practices that have been destroying the competitiveness of the U.S. cattle market. And these studies contain new information never before substantiated by academia. Now, this includes new information as to how the beef packing cartel is leveraging their multiple plants to increase their control over the cattle markets, and how the cartel uses price-distorting sweetheart deals, such as bonuses, financing, and risk sharing with their favored feedlots that are growing in size, while denying such lucrative arrangements to independent cattle feeders that have been dropping like flies. What these reports show is that Congress's currently preferred and watered-down Cattle Market Price Discovery and Transparency Act of 2022, or Senate Bill 4030, falls woefully short of addressing the many onerous practices now known to be distorting your cattle market. So what should be our new strategy to win with this recently opened new front? First, we must provide Congress with a new and more comprehensive and inclusive plan than what it's currently considering. And second, we must not settle for less than what is needed. And then we must fight to win it. It's up to you. Stand with us and we will win this decades-long conflict against the globalist cartel. So please join with us by becoming a member of RCAF USA. Go to our website at www.r-calfusa.com. With that, have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.